jobs and taxation and where the economy is driven from. We talk about at Iowa Pork that nearly 140,000 jobs in Iowa are based because of the pork industry.
Right.
And so, a lot of manufacturing jobs, and all your listeners know that every sector is looking for employees. And we're the same with, be it on the farm level of workers. I just got off the phone a little while ago with somebody that I haven't talked to for a little while, and he's talking about, trying to find competent workers. And I had a load of pigs come in this morning. I had 3 loads yesterday come in of 40-pound pigs that I put in my barns. And those drivers, they're maxing out with their couple loads a day, or market hogs. Sometimes those guys are hauling 3 loads a day.
Where do you send your hogs? You send them Waterloo or over Prestige, or
Yeah. So my operation,
if it's Prestige, that's not so bad. But if you got to do, in my short term hauling, I had to haul them to Kansas for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, I just talked to a trucker this morning, and he just brought a load of pigs from Oklahoma back up here to Iowa, small pigs.
All the way from Oklahoma,
yeah,
really?
Oklahoma. So to answer your question to me, and I've shared this with listeners and you before, that 5 years ago, I changed my production systems. Instead of being an independent, owning my own pigs, having a system of farrowing and nursery and then my own finishing. Now I'm a contract grower, which about 50% of the pigs right now are owned in the country. That is, 50% are owned by a packer, what we call the vertical integration.
Yeah, there's a lot of people concerned about that very thing.
Yes, there is.
I do want to ask you how that's worked out for you.
Yeah. Well, and you ask about who I feed with. So I'm with Seaboard.
Yeah.
And Seaboard has a plant that they built about 5 years ago in Sioux City. Brand new one. They opened up about 2 years before Prestige did up here at Eagle Grove.
Right.
And so the system that I am involved with right now is with a company, Seaboard, that has a lot of different aspects of food production and processing, harvesting, marketing contracts, etc. And so there's a lot of farmers like me that we have barns, we have labor. We want to be still in the pig business. A lot of your listeners would know of Smithfield, which Smithfield used to be Murphy Brown and Murphy Family Farms, and those name changes that came from South Carolina, North Carolina, here to the Midwest, really in the early 1990s. And now Smithfield, which
Smithfield's got a place up by Algona where I grew up.
Yeah, and that's your home stomping grounds. They have a big feed mill out just west of Algona, a couple miles, and a lot of barns up here in north central Iowa. But a lot of your listeners would know Smithfield is the largest pork producer in not only the United States with the number of sows, and quite honestly, they're about 3 times larger than what Seaboard is that I feed with, and Seaboard's number 2.
And Smithfield's a Chinese company.
And correct? Chinese has the ownership. It's, I believe, the Shangwei company, which purchased that maybe 5 to 7 years ago now, losing track of time on that. But they also have the most sows and most pigs in the world. Obviously, they're based in China, where the most people are that eat pork in the world. And so, the dynamics of what we deal with here in the United States with the pork industry, the changes that we've had, your sister station, and actually even this station, does farm reports. Dwayne Murley does a lot of farm reports. And the thing that was just announced a couple weeks ago with the pig crop report, that for the first time in 7 years, we've shrank the pig herd. We've had less sows farrowing little pigs, less little pigs in the marketplace, less market-ready pigs in the marketplace than we've had since the year 2015. So what that really means is we had some contraction. We've had some higher grain prices that have gone on. We've had some disease issues that are occurring now and in the past couple of years that have, shaved off 1% or so of pigs that are available for growth, and then obviously get to the packer. But also the trade disruptions that we had, not really because of negotiations. Those numbers are still great of what we sell, but the COVID disruptions. That's had some impact on what countries are moving pork into their supplies.
I don't get to see you as often as I once did, Greg, but we were concerned. This has been probably a couple of years ago already, about a swine flu making its way to American shores. As a matter of fact, there was a mysterious crate that showed up.
Yeah.
That apparently there were pork-like products or something on it that did carry this disease.
Yeah.
And there was. I was speculating at the time, of course, that perhaps the Chinese was trying to screw up our pork herd in the United
You
States.
wonder, don't you?
I
mean, you'd never think that something would come to the shores of the United States that would disrupt the country,
like
would you?
COVID.
Oh, really? Gosh.
I'm still a little suspicious about that. I'm kind of
Yes.
conspiracy.
I think we all
theorist
have good reason to be.
Yes, I think so too.
No.
But was that ever resolved, or how did
Yeah,
that work
but
out?
to answer your question, oh, absolutely. That high-level investigations by USDA and the Custom Border Patrol, who actually caught those products out on the East Coast,
Mhm.
and they were pork-like products. They were
Mhm.
not whole meat products. They were pork-like products. So there's different variations of
Great
that.
disguise, then.
Yes, but anyway, to answer your question, I just had a Iowa Pork Bylaws and Resolutions Committee conference call last night, a Zoom meeting. About 8 or 9 of us from across the state are involved in this for our upcoming Iowa Pork Congress here in late January. But to answer your question and to let your listeners know that it is, and the first thing that we all think and talk about is foreign animal disease and the African swine fever that is still occurring across the world,
Really?
especially in Europe, and most closely to the United States was Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. And there has been a lot of work that we as U.S. pork industry and our counterparts in D.C. with different food groups working with regulators in the Caribbean islands. And yes, we're starting to open up travel again, which means people are traveling to those warmer islands and coming back into the United States. And I will never forget, and your listeners may be aware of this, if you ever see the pictures of what people are trying to bring back into the United States when they go through customs. And I remember when that happened to my wife about 10 years ago, we went on an innocent trip to Cabo with a seed company.
Mhm.
She bought some syrup or some other things, and she forgot to leave them out of her suitcase, and they confiscated them.
Oh.
And when they confiscate it, then they put them out on the table. And if your listeners have seen Custom Border Patrol, and we see this in the pork industry, because we're highly aware of it, people trying to bring things back in to the United States that are not allowed. And I had a personal experience of that about 5 years ago when a foreign pork mission trade trip to Japan, and one of our hosts over there gave us this prepackaged pork items. You know, it'd be much like your meat and cheese platters.
Mhm.
And people know what I'm talking about when we just coming off the Christmas holidays here, and you get your meat and cheese platters in a box, and it's all cellophane wrapped. Well, they gave us, as we were the pork delegation from the United States and Japan, and one of their companies produces all this. So they gave that to us. Well, we all knew that we were not going to bring that back home because it would not be allowed to come through our Custom and Border Patrol. But anyway, answering your question, yes, we're highly vigilant on what goes on from disease prevention. And the biggest thing is, if we would have foreign animal disease or like African swine fever, for example, in Florida, would that shut down the middle part of the United States? And most likely it would cut off our exports right away. So that's why we are working with USDA officials and all of the Department of Ags in all of the states. And I know Dr. Jeff Kaysen is our veterinarian here for the state of Iowa. They have 4 other veterinarians placed around the state of Iowa working not only with pork producers, but with the other species too, because trying to number one, identify the problem, to see it, make sure that it's not a false positive, and then to have not to have disruptions of pig movement or feed movement or veterinary services movement is what's critical.
All right. Greg Hoare is our guest. He's with the Iowa Pork Producers. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Ken Osterberg tells me that pork producers are kind of, well, not leading the way maybe, but getting very active in solar power. Like any business, you want to cut down on expenses, energy expenses, or any other expenses. That makes perfect sense. Do you have solar power at your operation, on your operation?
No, I do not.
Do you think the pork producers as a group are encouraging solar power?
Yes, we have. And specifically in mind of certain locations around the state of Iowa have more prevalent amount of solar panels, especially on hog building roofs. And I'll give your listeners the example. So I have 1,000 head hog building, and the building is 42 feet wide and it's 200 feet long, which means you have a south facing roof line that's 200 feet long. And you can put, as a lot of pork producers do, put your solar panels up there. And then that feeds into the grid for your buildings. But then you also have additional power that's feeding into the grid. So you have the meters that are running, and they're either running positive as in they're feeding in, or they're running negative that you're using more power than what you're feeding into the grid. But to answer Dave Osterberg's observation is, yes, where your son lives, Mike, over in Eastern Iowa, Alliant Energy was very cooperative. And my home county where I grew up, farmed for a brief period of time in Washington County. A lot of hog buildings with a lot of solar panels on their roofs because there was cooperating agreements with Alliant Energy and of course suppliers that would access funds. So if you were going to spend $30,000 to put solar panels on your buildings to help reduce your net electrical use, that there was some matching funds up to a third of that could be offset. But once again, you had to have a cooperating power company.
And they have it over there.
They did have it. And over here, I won't say that Mid-American is not cooperative, but it has not gone as smoothly for those pork producers that may have wanted to do that with a company like Mid-American.
But Mid-America seems to be focused on wind energy rather than solar panels. Maybe that's just I have a skewed version of that. I don't know what's happening on the inside of Mid-American, but I know they're pretty strong on wind energy.
Well, they have been, and I haven't looked into it for a period of time, but I think you had either interview responses from somebody at Mid-American or others that have said, Mid-Americans, they're just going out there and utilizing the rules that are in place and getting subsidy money to help put those towers up. And whether Mid-American, Warren Buffett, or those other types are actually spending a lot of their own capital investment or actually getting that back over a period of time. But we all know, and, as we're talking about issues, one of the issues that pork producers know we're dealing with, and that's a different administration. And this
totally focused on green energy.
The green energy aspects that we know that farmers are willing to participate in with the carbon credits, the carbon sequestration, some of the other aspects that we normally do on our farms. We've always said we've been the true environmentalist, because we're taking care of our land the way that we see best and making improvements. Because if you don't take care of it, you're going to have erosion of wind or water erosion, and you're going to lose the value of the productivity. And we don't want to do that. We want to make things better.
Greg Hoare is our guest at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. We're about to go to break here, so I better ask you now. Who you picking? Clemson, Iowa State? I know you're an Iowa State grad.
That's Iowa State all the way.
You got to go Iowa State.
Oh my gosh. Well, I
hope you're right. I'm not a fan of Clemson. I'm not a fan of Dabo Sweeney. I could never say that when Rob Jones was here.
That's right.
He grew up just 30 miles from Clemson.
From Clemson there. Well, what's really exciting, I think, I don't know if you've had other guests in the last couple of weeks that are Iowa State fans like myself. But, you know, when the word came out a couple years ago that we were playing Notre Dame,
Yeah.
that was a big deal. And
Yeah.
Iowa State did not perform very well in that game.
Didn't.
And Notre Dame just rocked that game and beat Iowa State by 40 points or so.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, this is a SEC matchup. And when you start talking about Clemson and you start talking about who's been in the top 5 in the country over the last 5 years, well, Clemson's one of those teams.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They've always been there.
I can't say that's the truth. I
Yeah.
don't deny it.
And so, yeah, it's a great showcase. And yeah, Iowa State finished at 7-5, and you know, maybe there was 3 or 4 of those games that we really had a good chance at. We played well, but boy, if you ever want to listen to, and I know Kirk Ferentz, you've had your ups and downs about Kirk Ferentz over the years, but being there as long as he has, and the way that he operates his team, boy, anybody wants to have inspiration, and maybe not just sound bites, but true inspiration. That Matt Campbell, he is really a golden child for what's right with athletics and college these days.
You know, a couple of years ago, he may have bought books for his entire team, this particular book for his entire team, but I know he bought it for his coaching staff and insisted they read it. It was called Pound the Stone. Pound the Stone. Yeah, if you're if you want to get inside the mind of Matt Campbell, that's a good book to read. It's a good book anyway, but it's all about determination and building and staying the course and perseverance. And it's told in a novelistic style. And you can just see what Campbell has done in his 5 years at Iowa State follows this basic pattern.
Sure.
And it was really kind of inspiring. And I'm an admirer of Matt Campbell. Him and Dabo Sweeney are having some kind of love fest.
No, they call it Brofest.
What's that? A Brofest.
Well, actually, the bromance.
Yeah, it's kind of a bromance.
Yeah. I got a kick out. Well, they got those reporters. They got to talk about something, and you know that's okay. Knock them about being, you know, congenial towards each other. You know, they probably go and visit each other's locker rooms. You know,
that's I don't care about that.
And say, hey, look at this guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's the friendliest I've ever seen 2 head coaches going into a bowl game be, I guess. You know, they always give each other respect, and I'm sure it's sincere, you know, but they're in the little coaching fraternity of major universities, but I've never seen it like these 2 guys.
Well, but also we've never seen a second year of bowl games where we still have games canceled.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so that appreciation of being able, hey, keep you guys healthy and all those aspects that go on with that. But, you know, one of the other Iowa State students that's down there, you would know as Rod and Susie Lehman's daughter.
Oh, they went down there. Oh, her daughter.
Their daughter. Yeah, Katie, which is also Paul Allers' daughter.
Yeah.
Paul and Susie there. But Katie is a manager with the team. She's a dietitian, so she works with players on their nutrition, their calories, and not so much the workouts, but they have to track all of that. So there's a Fort Dodge connection that Katie's been on the sideline right with the players and the groups of players that she has responsibility with. So pretty exciting to know that we have people that are not just the players that are star people that we think about and talk about, but there's a lot of support staff that is involved there also.
You know, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Ben Allers a couple of times.
Yes.
A really nice young man and a very talented young man. They have a great family there. There's no doubt. Hey, I'm 1400 KBFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, Mike. It's Matt.
Oh, Matt.
Hey,
I
Mayor.
didn't know you were calling in.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I wanted you to call in at
still at
4.
my office.
I wanted you to call in at 4, Matt.
I thought your text message says, "Can you call in at 3:30?"
Oh, I'm sorry.
Or it says, "Will you be on at 3:30?" I said yes.
Well,
I beg your pardon, Matt. That's my mistake. I'm sorry. Could you be on at 4:10, or are you going to get to the game?
No, the game doesn't start till 4:45.
Okay. So can you give me 20 minutes starting at 4:10 or not?
Oh man.
Really cutting into pregame there, Mayor.
Into pregame is right.
Hey, Mayor, you be on in the.
Who do you got? Who's on there right now?
That darn pork producer.
Greg Hora.
Kick him out of there.
Oh, hey, you know what? I always like to remind people to buy a lot of ham this time
There you go.
because we got to help our pork producers out.
Well, over at Jeff's place there, Hardy's Caddyshack, for a long time, he had an omelet named after me, the Divine Breakfast Omelet that was stuffed with ham. I don't know what he was trying to tell me with that, but apparently he doesn't understand. I'm a very sensitive guy.
You are, yes. Your sensitivity just exudes. Yeah.
Jeez.
Hey,
All right, I'll see you at 410. Happy New Year to you.
oh yeah,
Sure.
Happy New Year to you as
We will
well.
see you soon.
All right, thanks, man. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. That's exactly what I texted him. I screwed that up. I just totally screwed that up. Anyway, this
That
portion-
brain fog is still affecting you.
Well,
From
that's,
when?
That's a year ago.
Oh,
over
I
a
thought it
year.
was the 70s.
That too. This portion of the program brought to you by the Iowa Pork Producers, or the Webster County Pork Producers. Please forgive me. Let's go to the phones once again. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
You sure that wasn't stuff full of baloney?
No, I would have eaten it then too, especially bologna and cheese. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think Hardy took it off though.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on
Hey,
the menu.
for your gender thing there, you need to look up Rachel Levine.
Why is that, bud?
Just look her up or it up.
Oh, you're being mysterious again. All right.
Rachel Levine, look it up.
Well, calm
She
down.
works. She
Maybe
works
I
for
will.
Uncle. She works for Uncle Joe, 4-star admiral.
She's a 4-star admiral.
Yes, she works for Uncle Joe in the health department.
What did she used to be? Ralph Levine or something, or what?
Yeah, just Google her up.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for calling.
Better known as Rocky.
Yeah. All right. We're with Greg Hoare, and it's great to have Greg back, and we'll talk more right after the news.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth,
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
at AM 1400 KVFT.
3:35.
This flu season update is sponsored by Exergen.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
I don't really know if I'm the mayor of Manville. I think that's Greg Hora. We were talking at the beginning of this program with Greg Hora, who's with the Webster County Pork Producers, of course, about the problems and challenges that agriculture has, especially pork producers. And I want to talk a little bit about the security that pork producers have to have in light of some misguided people in the animal rights business. I know Iowa Select has been a particular target. Those Iowa Select people, it's a husband and wife, and they're a big company. That's no doubt, big corporation. But they're always giving away pork to well-deserved causes. I mean, they're responsible members of their community.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have a tough idea, or I have a tough time figuring out why they're such bad people that these animal rights activists want to attack them all the time.
Yeah. Well, activist groups, they like to go after people that have name and notoriety so that they can get a headline.
I think Iowa Select has a well-deserved reputation, a good reputation.
Well, you referred to Jeff and Deb Hansen,
right,
who were originally from the Iowa Falls area. And I go back in the early 1990s when I was working with the for the Iowa Farm Bureau.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember with Farm Bureau members and leaders from that county meeting in their small office, their small conference room, right there in Iowa Falls. And they had a business plan, and they had an idea of going out and getting a capital or investment money and growing a pig operations.
Mm-hmm.
And quite honestly, what Iowa Select has done in the innovations aspect of the pork industry has actually brought more dollars and more value back to the state of Iowa than most of us as pork producers would have ever thought possible. And when I say that, here's what I mean. I was involved in a pork group at one time that we were looking at building a sow farm up in North Dakota.
Okay.
And bringing the pigs back here to Webster County. Now, why would we think about spending millions of dollars in North Dakota, having the jobs up there, and then bringing pigs all the way back 10 hours on a truck back here to Webster County?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was because of pig health and what we call biosecurity, because pigs are very susceptible, like poultry are to different diseases. Well, what quite honestly, innovators like Jeff Hansen did in working with veterinarian services and builders and equipment supply companies is that, hey, we can raise those little pigs here in isolated areas of Iowa, southern Iowa, for example, where there's not as much pig population and there's not as much people population, got a little bit more rolling hills, so there's more grass and CRP areas. If we do some innovations with our hog buildings, and that's what they did when you start talking about air quality and ventilation systems using filtration to bring air in and filter it through the different aspects of hog buildings. So by that in itself has left a lot of jobs here in Iowa, and those jobs that are high paying jobs, because for every value of a worker, you need to have so many pigs output for those workers to be justified. And so that's one thing that the industry takes its great pride in, and that is the benchmarking or the measurements, what we call the measurables. And in agriculture, that's a very important aspect, which means to your listeners, in this area, we raise corn and soybeans. If I raise 200 bushel corn, I may be an average farmer now, because maybe the top 10% is raising 240 bushel corn. And maybe the bottom 10% is raising 160 bushel corn. Well, if you're not above average, you're not going to last very long. And I give that example as crop farmers because there's different levels of things that you can do to improve not only your output, but your efficiencies or cost per bushel. Same thing in the pig business. And that's why the thing you and I've talked about for 5 or 6 years up the road here at Prestige Foods.
Yeah.
You know, they have a plant that they're running an 8-hour shift now. Well, it might be 9 or 10 hours, but, you know, they would like to get it to two shifts a day. If they could not process 10,000 pigs per day, because they still have the same infrastructure of the buildings, if they could get more labor and have access to more pigs, they could run that same footprint of a building 20 hours a day instead of 10. Much like
Didn't they start off? I mean, in their first year of operation, didn't they have 2 shifts going?
No.
Or not?
no, they never
never
really
did.
have. No, that first year they were maybe up to 8,000 pigs a day.
Okay.
Because you got to have onboarding and training. USDA is in there with inspections all the time. You're cleaning, sanitization, and what you've spoke about before is that line speed, that
Mhm.
chain speed. There's been some changes of that the last couple
Mhm.
years because we're using more robotics in these types of plants, and we're trying to not only increase the capacity of pigs slaughtered, but we also want to make sure that the worker safety is there. And as some of your listeners would know, working in some of those production line companies, and I remember when I used to work out at the Fort Dodge Labs, a lot of people worked in the production areas of manufacturing and filling vials or filling syringes or filling bottles of product, be it liquid or dry products.
I worked out there briefly.
Yeah. And so that repetitive motion.
Yes, of course.
And so that's why even this,
Basic manufacturing.
yep, this worker shortage is going to stem additional robotics and additional innovations of equipment to handle some of those repetitive jobs that people get not only tired of doing, but they have injuries in doing. But, in the pork industry, it's like a lot of other industries, you need to adapt. And our industry, we believe, is adapted in the best ways that we can. Areas that we still have great concern of, and that's the talk of the country right now, and that's the worker shortages or the supply chain of trucks drivers. And I know, Mike, you've driven truck before, and you know how important that is. We have a resolution with our upcoming Iowa Pork Congress, which is in a month from now, actually.
Where's it at?
Down in Des Moines. We're having a business meeting, which is the first day where we have policy resolutions and our normal business activities and reports, involvement with National Pork Board and our other national organization, the National Pork Producer Council. But one of the resolutions that we have is that, we're talking about what do we do for truck drivers.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have enough live haul truck drivers. And when there's federal legislation being talked about right now about additional training that the DOT would do for younger drivers, even drivers down to the age of 18. And believe me, all of us have concerns about that.
Yes.
Because
That's a tough job. And
Yeah.
You have to be mature to do that. You would think driving a truck isn't any big deal. You get you get an 80,000 pound truck or more,
Yep.
and pork people can go to 90,000. You have to know what you're doing when you come down a hill, when you come into a sharp corner. It's large space management.
Yep.
Is what it is. And
Well, and most of us know that it's not based on taking a test and then maybe a written or driver's exam. And we see, I see a lot on the east side of Fort Dodge with the Iowa Central Training Facility and the truck driving school, which is great. People are either learning a new skill or maybe they're going and taking a second career and they're going to be driving over the road. And some of those jobs pay very well right now. If you want to haul something from the Midwest down to Texas, where there's a lot of people, or down to Florida, where there's a lot of people, those jobs pay pretty well. But lowering the age under 21 to 20 or 19 or 18, most of us have concerns about the level of experience that those younger drivers have not yet gained.
well, you heard the weather forecast. The hogs
Yes.
still have to be fed. We got to have feed trucks out there.
Yeah.
We still got to haul hogs.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky business when you got a live haul or a liquid haul, either
Ye-
one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And when we have the weather that we do, and I talked to a pork producer friend of mine just a week ago up in Minnesota, and I said, well, we're already down in those single digit temperatures.
Yeah.
And of course, that's what we're going to experience here this weekend, which, Mike, the way things end up, it'll probably be about another average year.
Yeah. By the way,
We've had
it was coming. I'm surprised we've gone this far.
we've had a beautiful December here.
We
And
did.
those of us that are out and about and, and I've got pig operation that I'm responsible with every day on fans and temperatures and LP gas that we're buying at $1.50 to $1.80 a gallon.
Right.
And yeah, there's been a wonderful December for that we haven't used as much of that, but on average, we'll get payback here in January and February like we normally do.
We live in Iowa. We know what to expect.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Throws a curve at us every now and then with that derecho business, but that's the weather that we've lived with all our lives, and it'll continue to live.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that duration, I really did not have much impact on my farm.
Mm-hmm.
I have neighbors just to the east of me, over towards the Duncombe area and up towards the Vincent area, where machine sheds were lost, grain bins were lost, roofs off of hog buildings were torn off. Yes, and then of course our friends down by Harcourt. In the Gowrie area, there are a couple tornadoes that went through that area and really devastated some farmsteads, some older farmsteads, and then some farmsteads that had newer machine sheds and buildings that were just completely tore apart, including some hog barns that lost their roofs and machine sheds that were totally blown away.
Mm-hmm.
So for a December storm, that was pretty unusual.
That really was a weird one. Yeah. I should have asked Osterberg earlier today if that was a result of climate change, because he would have absolutely told me that it was.
Well, we know that we weren't running on solar power there for a couple days. I had my PTO tractor generators running for almost 3 days at one of my hog sites because we had no power for almost 3 days.
Would you consider solar power at some time at your farm or not?
Well, yeah, I'm not opposed to that by all means, but once again, what are the economics?
Yeah.
And, if I'm paying at a 2-barn hog site that's got 2,000 head, I'm paying, $300 a month electrical bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's average. Sometimes in the summertime when we actually use more fans because of storation fans, when it's hot, we actually spend maybe $350 a month.
Oh, I believe that.
And so
I'm surprised it's that low.
Yeah. Well, that would be just for a couple thousand. That'd be for just a couple buildings.
Right.
And if you have a 5,000 head site, you're going to be spending $600-700 a month on electricity on average. And that, of course, that's not your heating for LP gas or anything yet. But I think most farmers look at those opportunities, especially if you can put it back into the grid and you can get credits for your own farm operation. And if you were to say, well, you're going to at least recapture the cost over a 10-year period for your farm. And, I've got buildings like a lot of pork producers do that are 20, 25 years old. And they're sound. And if you can have solar powered panels on top of your building and they're going to last that long, I think that's a wise investment, and it's a good return for helping put power back in for your own farm operation.
Yeah, there may be incentives. The Biden administration knows they're hurting farm people in the Midwest states with their ethanol, not paying much attention to ethanol and making people who depend on ethanol for their living a little nervous. So they might come up with some sort of subsidy. I mean, they're doing it for green cars is what I'm thinking.
I know it is.
Electric cars.
Yeah.
And Osterberg was telling me a little earlier today that he has solar panels on his house, not surprisingly.
Yes.
And he's had them there for many years. And there was a savings of 30% on his taxes every year for I don't know how many years.
Sure.
But that made it worthwhile, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had electric power in the house when he needed it.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly fuel for winter. Listen to me, fuel.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, of course, and I know you've had a couple of supervisors in here before.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about the big solar farm up in the northeast part of the county.
Absolutely.
800 acres or so of panels. And, it's a pretty good size facility. I don't know the total volume that it's putting in. I've heard the numbers, but I don't recall what that is. But once again, it's a diversification. And I think those of us that are corn farmers know that that's one of the mainstays that we have had for the ethanol production. The plants that we have in this county down by Gowrie with Poet or out east or west of Fort Dodge here with Valero and Cargill. There's some tremendous profits being made right now, even with $6 corn that those plants are buying corn at $6, and they're making good money.
I bet.
About 3 gallons per bushel of corn of ethanol is what comes per bushel now.
What was the most money you ever got for a bushel of corn?
You know, that's a good question, because most farmers would say, well, I remember when corn was $7, but I never had any, because it's usually sold by then.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think some of us remember back in 2008 when we hit $5 for the first time.
That was
2013, 14, we had about $7 then.
Greg Horace has been our guest of the Iowa Pork Producers, Webster County Pork Producers. Thank you, Greg. This is AM 1400 KBFD, and it's 4 o'clock.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 to
Learn more at Exergen.com.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at JMike1400.
All right, it's 10 minutes after 4. Joining us now, live and direct from Amigos, is the mayor of Fort Dodge, Matt Bemrick. What you doing, buddy?
From Amigos. No, I'm at Bemrick Electric.
Is that you're at Bemrick Electrical? I'll tell you, if I was you, I'd be at Amigos. In fact, I might be there in about an hour. I might go down for some Amigos pizza and general socializing.
Amigos pizza.
All right. Well, don't here. I don't want to forget this because I'm old and I forget stuff.
I often go down to Amigos and meet my good friend Jimmers.
Who?
Jimmers.
I don't know that person.
Yeah, it's a nickname.
For who?
I can't tell you that.
You drop something weird out there, then you keep it to yourself. What's going on with that?
I can't tell you who Jimmers is.
You really can't.
That's breaking the code there.
Breaking the code?
Yeah. He might be listening. He's probably laughing right now.
This isn't Campbell, is it?
No.
Okay.
No.
He doesn't seem like a guy you'd nickname Jimmers for some reason.
Oh, if you thought hard enough, you might be able to figure it out.
Oh, I probably would. I have a couple of gyms in mind right now, as a matter of fact. I mean, yes, we'll let him keep his anonymity, even though everybody in the world knows him.
Well, a few people might.
Few
People might.
Anyway, before I forget, let me wish you and your family a happy New Year. Give my best to the family later on when you're with them. And
For sure. Thank you. And New Year to you and your family.
It's good to get through another one. The weather is not going to cooperate for a lot of traveling, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. It's winter finally got here, and we all remember winter, don't we? So it's coming this weekend anyway.
We're done with the tornado season in December.
Well, we just had that doggone Terratio. Yeah, I think that's what you're alluding to. Man, that was, it's just very strange weather here in Fort Dodge. I talked with David Furick yesterday, the city manager, and he was talking about different ways that the city is preparing for winter and for bad weather. We all know what it can do to the roads and that sort of thing. It was good information. He also, and I think he said that there was, and he put this on my Facebook page today, a couple of sites to go to check on weather, or let me see what it is. Maybe I should know what I'm talking about before I start talking about it with you.
That's never stopped you in the past.
Now, I just went through a rather long harangue yesterday with two deniers of my talent and ability. That would be Kuhlman and Mulholland, and we went round and around and around. But they're of the opinion that, I don't know, that sometimes I make a mistake.
I've never seen it.
I was going to say, I just can't believe. Oh, snow route notifications. Yeah, snow route notifications. Now, I've had my car towed twice over the years.
Holy moly.
And it was $100 a pop to go get it out by the old Iowa beef plant. And that's because I was parked in a snow route. So the snow route notification to opt in, and I'm reading from a post by David Ferry, to opt in, text FDCOM snow, all capital letters. That's FDCOM snow for commercial snow route notifications. That's for commercial snow route notifications. And FD, it says R here, I'll spell it. FDRESS now. FDRES now for residential snow routes notification. And send those notifications to number 91896. 91896. I don't know where the FDRES came from. And maybe he was trying to say press. I don't know. But the number to text to is 91896. So I signed up.
Well, good.
I signed up.
Now you'll know when to move.
Well, I'll know when to hibernate, I guess. I'll just, that's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm not going to go to Amigos. I'm just going to go get some popcorn and watch the game.
I've kind of heard that quite a few people are upset because you basically, if you have MediaCom, you can't watch these bowl games because they still haven't worked out a deal with ABC and ESPN or something.
Are you sure you want me to get going on MediaCom? Because that's a real hot button with me every time we talk about MediaCom. Yeah,
I don't have MediaCom TV. I have DirecTV.
Me too.
Internet, but I was just talking to some people in the office today, and they were all talking about where they were going to go watch the game, and they were going to different people's houses and stuff. And
yeah,
we're all making sure that the person had the channel, because I guess there's something between MediaCom and ABC and ESPN. So and the game today, I believe, is on ESPN, and then the Hawkeyes is on ABC on Saturday.
Right.
MediaCom, if you have MediaCom, you can't watch the games.
Yeah, well, that's been going on a couple of years, I think.
Yeah. I've had MediaCom TV for a long time, so I didn't even know that was happening. So to kind of add insult to injury, people are upset with MediaCom about internet service, and now I'm getting a bunch of feedback from people that are upset about the TV service.
They should be. MediaCom provides terrible service. I mean, they just do. I mean, this is yet another example. I mean,
I wonder, it must just come down to a financial issue between the two organizations, and they can agree on a price.
I mean, as long as this has been going on, MediaCom should have some thought for their customers and expedite some sort of agreement, but they just haven't. I guess they feel that a lot of people don't need to watch sports on ABC or any ABC programming. I don't know what they're thinking, but this is another.
Well, isn't ABC and ESPN owned by Disney?
I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I had that incident over a year ago now where I wanted something done with MediaCom, and they said, "Well, you have to give us a 4-hour window." So I sat at home. The plan was to sit at home from 8 a.m. till noon, I guess. And I just went to the bathroom, and left I don't usually take my phone in there. You know what I mean? And I went in, and when I came out, I saw I had a call at 11:46 from a MediaCom customer service guy. He was calling to say that he was in the area and would come right over. Well, of course, I didn't hear the thing ring. So at 11:52 or 11:53, I called MediaCom right away. Said, I was just in the bathroom, send him right over. No, you have to wait again, and you have to go sit and wait again some other day for 4 hours. I just canceled on the spot. That was enough for me. That was just enough. So I'm anxious to get broadband, and I know you are too, really.
Absolutely. I'm excited for the work that David and Ryan Mail and our consultants and the council, myself, lots of others have contributed as well. I'm excited for it. I wish we could make it happen faster.
Yeah, but have we broken ground on anything yet as far as broadband is concerned? No. Are we going to do it in the spring or?
Yeah, I believe that some of the first parts of the infrastructure should go in this spring, maybe late spring, before summer. But by summer, we should be rocking and rolling with some stuff.
Where is the site at? Where is this all going in at?
Well, I don't know that, to be honest. They haven't kind of given us the construction kind of layout of here's where we're going to start. Here's the first things that'll go in. But, just because they put that in the ground doesn't mean that automatically you're going to be able to connect and get service, because you got to connect it. And you got to put in what's called nodes. Those are the place that the wiring runs back to, and then that connects to other networks that provide service on the front end. So basically, I don't know if it's hard to explain network communications and network structure over the phone. It's a little easier to probably do in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'd have to get a more savvy person to explain it than me, I think.
I haven't talked with Kurt, and gosh, I'm embarrassed. I can't remember. Curtis Dean. He was an old radio guy. I met him up in Spencer, I think, years ago.
Great guy.
Yeah, good guy, very knowledgeable. I don't know if he'd be the one to talk to about this sort of thing, these technical aspects or not. Did the broadband people that we're working with, or excuse me, we're the broadband people, are we going to use local contractors, or what are we going to do?
Well, it'll be publicly bid, so whoever's got the best bid and will end up building it. But it's a big enough project that I think the some local involvement from contractors, but typically these types of projects are done by directional boring companies. You see those rigs on the side of the road that have the rods that are going down into the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have a large representation of directional boring companies based out of Fort Dodge.
That's pretty specialized work.
It
sounds like.
is, and they kind of all over the place. We use a directional boring company out of Denison, Iowa. I'm friends with the owner. He's a great guy, and he probably will bid it. It'll be interesting to see who all bids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some bids. There always is a lot of bids. People want work and want to keep going and that sorts of thing. I hope we negotiate a contract with whoever it is. I hope we negotiate a contract that says, you need to start here and end here. And if you don't end here, there will be a penalty for you not ending here. Because most contractors, I wouldn't say Bemrick Electric, most contractors like to get the bid and then work on several jobs at once and maybe miss the line or miss the date that they said that they were going to finish by.
Oh, I'm a fan, and you're starting to see more of these contracts that actually pay a bonus to the contract if you finish early.
Yeah, well, that's great.
We're actually doing that on a contract that we just let with the 10th Avenue North Storm Sewer Project.
Right.
One that's right there by the high school and Villa Care and going out towards the middle school. That's a really complex project. And of course, having 10th Avenue North closed for extended periods of time creates some serious traffic problems. So we actually have an incentive-based contract there. I can't off the top of my head remember all the details of how it works, but I think by finishing early, the contractor, which is a local contractor, Rash, I believe they can get almost $60,000 bonus by finishing that project quicker and earlier.
Good. Well, that's great.
Allowed, or that is expected for finish date. So that's an exciting new kind of thing we're doing with infrastructure project, and this being a large infrastructure project that's spread all around the city, it might be worthwhile to look into some incentive-based contract.
I think that sounds like a great idea, frankly. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's excellent news. Mayor Matt Bemrick is our guest. I'd ask you to call in and ask the mayor a question, but he's already on the phone, so it kind of screws that up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm on StreamYard, by the way. If you I'm streaming video right now, both on my personal Facebook page and on the radio station Facebook page. That's at AM 1400 KVFT. You can certainly leave a comment or question on StreamYard. So if you want to do that, just, again, call up the live video that I've got going on right now. There's this old gray-haired man in there that I don't even know who he is. I don't recognize him, but apparently it's me. So who you picking for the game tonight there, big guy? Are you going to, it pains me. I hate this because I really don't like Clemson. I could never say that with Rob Jones here, but I'm not a big fan of Clemson. I'm certainly not a big fan of Dabo Swinney, but I think Clemson might win. God, I hate to say that. But do you think Iowa State's going to pull it out, or?
Let me tell you, here's my perspective on this. I would rather see Iowa State win, of course, because I want to see Iowa schools do.
Oh, I do very much. Yeah, it would be a great day.
Consulting with my buddy Jimmers that I was talking about earlier, he says the safe bet is on Clemson. So,
he what?
He says the safe bet is on Clemson.
I suppose. And
Now that I hope he's wrong, but
I do too.
That Jimmers is a pretty smart guy. So
probably the smartest human being in the universe. Wouldn't you say that? Or
he's kind of like that QAnon guy. Nobody really knows who.
But the chicks dig him, right?
Yeah, the chicks dig him for sure.
So what's going on at the next city council meeting? I could call it up.
Well,
here.
Next Monday is the swearing-in ceremony.
Yeah.
That's at 11, and then they'll have the organizational meeting. Excuse me, the organizational meeting after that, and then we come back at 5 o'clock Monday night for budget workshops on police and fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I plan to ask at that council meeting which gender that the new council members identify with. I assume you're a cisgender male, or am I wrong there?
I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah, so it's a workshop, so I probably won't take questions from you specifically.
Yeah.
But you'll have to come to a different meeting for that.
All right. So there won't be any public comment or anything like
Well,
that?
no, I'd allow public comment, but I don't consider you the public. You're the media.
Oh, see, you keep doing that to me. Special rules for me.
Oh, come on. You can take a joke.
Yes, I can. You may be one of the few people who realize how very deeply I don't care.
I do realize that, and I also realize that your filter is only about 2% of what it might have been when we started doing this show.
I just grew up at a time when speaking your mind was a virtue.
Yeah,
It's different now.
you do.
It's
I don't think speaking your mind isn't still considered a virtue. It's the delivery that may make the difference.
Oh, the language is incorrect.
No, it's just the delivery, probably.
Well, I've been told I can come off as, well, I don't know, not bellicose, but pretty strong. I don't know. That doesn't make any difference either.
Personality, but that's part of your charm of your character.
Yeah, it's part of my overall charisma.
I would agree.
All right.
And a lot of people don't get your sense of humor.
No, they don't.
You and Minky are two guys that have sense of humor that is, it's hard for people to get at first, and then once you get it, then you get it.
Yeah, well, we're kind of we're sarcastic. We're old men. It happens. It just happens. Well, anyway,
I speak fluent sarcasm.
Fluent-
Mike Stein and Terry Minky.
Well, that works for me. Well, again, Mayor, thanks for being on.
You bet. Go
Appreciate-
Cyclones. Have a wonderful, happy New Year, everybody. And to make sure to plug the pork producers one time, everybody make sure you have a ham on New Year's Day.
There you go, man. There
All
you
right. Take care.
go. Yeah, you too. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 with Mayor Matt Bemrick.
Boss, head man, top dog, big cheese, the head honcho.
Call now, 515-95.